Do you remember when we lived in the Midwest and we used to visit Milwaukee all the time?
Yes.
And we would go to the Brewers games.
Yes.
Do you remember what we used to sing during the 7th inning stretch?
Take me out to the ball game.
Roll out the barrel.
Oh, did we? Missed an opportunity on that one.
Well, we were obviously off to the sausage races here today. Welcome to the Bourbon Band. My name is Phil.
I'm Julie.
And today we are drinking 4 different samples from Barrell Bourbon Company, or Barrell Distilling, because they don't just make bourbon, right? Maybe they are just called Barrell Bourbon. Either way.
Glad we're a whiskey tube channel.
We are doing awesome today. These 4 sample bottles, they offered to send us the full-size samples. They're a generous company, of course, and we intended to drink these on the road. So we asked them for smaller bottles. That's why we have these little guys. Barrel's not cheap if you're looking at that going, why aren't they sending full-size bottles? It's because we asked for them.
Yes, we did.
Really long story short, the van is in the shop getting some upgrades put in, and so we aren't on the road anymore. Instead, we're just going to taste these little bottles right here at our normal tasting station. Do we call this a tasting station?
I like it. Tasting station.
We do now. And so a big thank you to Barrell for sending these our way. We are under no obligation to talk about them at all, let alone to say anything good about them. So we are going to give you our unbiased opinions on them. And we're going to start with this little bourbon right here.
I love these small bottles. I know that we could have got the regular size one, but they're just so cute.
They are adorable.
Yeah.
This is batch number 35. It is aged 6 years, and it is 117 1/2 proof.
Oaky.
It is oaky. Yeah, oaky, vanilla.
A little bit fruity, too.
It is fruity, absolutely.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, boy.
Good job, Mavis. Ooh, that's brown sugary.
It drinks every bit of that 117 proof. I'm going to say that outright. But
Yeah.
I liked the flavors that I was getting. I'm going to have to dig into this one a little bit more. I think I like this one.
Yeah, right off the bat, I would say that I like the brown sugar. I like the oak. I like the vanilla. I'm not getting any of the fruit that I was looking for from the nose here. So on the nose, that fruit was a little bit nondescript. So let's take another sip here, see if we can find a little fruit on this thing too.
There's a little toffee on the nose now, and I'm getting a little marshmallow on the palate.
Yeah, and I'm continuing to get that sort of well-aged, almost to the point of bitterness on my palate. I do like it, and I like that marshmallow note.
Yeah.
I think that's very interesting. And now a brighter red fruit, almost like a raspberry coming through.
I had a bit of coffee note or something kind of like mocha-y, chocolatey on the finish that I was really enjoying.
You put it into words. I couldn't figure out what that was, but you're right. It's absolutely mocha. I haven't, personally, myself, not been very friendly to Barrell in the past. Some of their early batches I thought were very, very George Dickel whiskey heavy, to the point of saying things like, why would I pay $80 for this when I can pay $55 for Dickel 15-year or $40 at the time for Dickel Bottled and Bond that was aged 13 years? Didn't make a lot of sense to me at the time, but I think that their experience that they've gained, I think that they've become more bold with what they're creating. They are producing, in my opinion, better whiskey than they were early on, and so even I'll admit that I'm coming around a lot on this brand. I think these new batches are great.
And remember the Barrell Vantage. You still talk about that one.
I will continue to talk about that.
Yeah.
That is one of my bottles of the year, I believe. It's fantastic. I'm looking forward to revisiting it because it's been a while. But I think that with batches 34 and 35 here from Barrell that we've gotten to try, I've been pleasantly surprised by how much I'm enjoying these.
We don't want to keep you here all day, so moving on to the next one.
You talking to them or to me?
Both of us.
Okay. All right, so the next one is one that I'm very, very excited about, actually, because to my knowledge, this is the first time that they've put Canadian whiskey into this blend. This is Barrell Rye Batch number 4, aged 5.5 years at minimum, and 115.7 proof, distilled in Kentucky, Indiana, Tennessee, and Canada. I think this is so cool. 10-year-old Indiana rye barrels with notes of brown sugar and a touch of smoke, and 5- and 6-year-old barrels layered in for fruit and spice character. 14-year-old Canadian barrels were added for their dry herbal notes. The result is fruit-forward rye with layers of depth.
I'm excited about this one. I love a rye. I like Canadian ryes, so this
Totally
should be
agree.
really interesting.
It's all the things it claims to be. It's fruity, it's spicy, and that Canadian influence is all over it.
Yeah, there's a good oaky sweet presence.
It's almost like there's some lemon and some cherry here. Like there's citrus and red fruit.
It also smells like it's gonna be a warm one.
It does, and it smells kind of like wood paneling, but the cozy type.
Yeah.
And a little bit of Christmas spice in there.
I like that it smells cozy.
Little cozy, little ginger.
Let's try it.
I'm ready.
It's a little perfumey. I immediately thought, ooh, this does taste kind of Canadian.
Wow.
There was just like a really fresh, appley note to like the very beginning of the palate, and then the spices kicked in.
Well, and it went like bright red fruit, strawberry, raspberry, something like that, into a deep brown sugar, and now it's settling into that spice.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's a little dry. My mouth is
It's a
watering
little
now.
dry.
I liked how that changed everywhere on my palate. No matter every single spot that it hit on my tongue gave me a different sensation. And now here's that Christmas spice settling in on my breath. I feel very seasonal, very holiday-tastic. We are not quite at the holiday season yet, but we are approaching it quickly. And I could see this being a very good whiskey for the season.
I had a little pineapple, like a little citrus on the beginning palate. Then it morphed into a little brown sugary fruit. The one tick I have on this is that there is an intensity, like that warmth is a little bit distracting. And so if you're not chewing through and trying to find those flavors, like that could overwhelm your palate just a smidge.
Yeah, it coats like crazy. The spice lingers forever. I don't know that I would drink this neat.
Right.
Not often, at least. I think that this is one that probably an ice cube in it, or especially for cocktails.
I think an ice cube might be nice in this one.
Yeah, the spice on this, I think, would lend itself to some holiday cocktails, like a rye Manhattan or something like that. What do we got next? Is it the rum finished one?
Yes. So this is the Cask Finish Series Tale of Two Islands, which I love. So it's edition number 1, 5 years, 118.22 proof, and I believe you have the card that came with it.
A couple of these came with little cards. This is, in 2018, we produced the legendary Tale of Two Islands rum, a Jamaican rum matured in peated Islay single malt barrels. That's crazy. Those empty casks have been used to finish a blend of straight bourbons. This is a classic bourbon with notes of old-fashioned donut and coconut macaroon.
Love it.
Macaron? Well, it's one of those things. Over time, that bourbon slowly leached the brooding peatiness. Not the breeding peatiness.
Yeah.
That would be
well, maybe the peat's breeding. Who knows?
This is obviously an adult theme today. Peatiness left behind in the barrel staves by smoky Islay whiskey. A splash of water unlocks wild tropical volatiles that are the calling card of Jamaica's ester-packed rums. And
I'm excited about this.
This is wild. Indiana bourbon whiskeys 5, 6, and 9 years old. Maryland bourbon whiskeys 5 and 6 year old.
Interesting.
Don't know who's producing bourbon in Maryland. Let us know. I don't know anything about that. I have to admit, I did not read the description previously.
I didn't either.
And so I didn't realize that we were going to get a peated influence here. I'm actually more excited now than I was.
I am more excited as well.
Are you really?
So on the short note, this is a bourbon aged in rum casks with some Islay peatiness. That was the Cliff Notes.
Oh my goodness.
Oh wow, it smells like rich, delicious caramel.
Do you know a tasting note that we've been using occasionally lately?
Caramel apples, like the gooey caramel apples.
Absolutely does. We've been using a tasting note lately that I'm going to use again right now. Treacle.
Oh, I was hoping you were going to say the treacle. I still don't know what that is.
Somebody sent us a box of treacle for Christmas.
Ooh.
Wow.
I could just sit and live in this nose.
What a bizarre nose. What did we say this was? This is 118.22 proof. Oh my goodness. Okay.
It's not a low proof, it's not a matchup, but low proof matchup today.
No, not at all.
Oh, this nose is wonderful. And you know what's going to be nice about this? When this is gone, the glass is going to smell phenomenal.
Well, I could nose it forever, but I'm too excited, so I'm going to drink it.
Yeah. Ooh. Wow. Wow.
That is some very strange whiskey. Well, you're speechless.
Yeah, I'm going to have to...
That doesn't happen a lot.
Yeah.
I think I need another sip.
I need another sip on this one. It didn't drink how it was expecting it to drink. Like I thought the peatiness would come through. I thought maybe it would be like super caramely. None of that happened. And so I got distracted by what the sip was that I couldn't put it into words.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like I need the Cliff's Notes, so I go to the bottle hoping for tasting notes. There's nothing on here. There was nothing on the card, so I guess we're on our own.
Yeah.
I'm getting rum. I'm getting a hint of Scotch. I'm getting a little bit of bourbon. This is, honestly, to me, tastes more like rum than anything else. And I think that might be why we're having such a hard time coming up with tasting notes.
It does feel a bit tropical.
Yeah, we're not rum drinkers generally.
Yeah.
You know what it reminds me a lot of is like molasses, a little bit of ginger, and there's some sort of tropical sort of fruit in there, but I can't identify. I don't know my tropical fruits very well.
No, I think I was expecting this to be a bit smoky, and it's not smoky at all, which I think is throwing me a little bit. I did get a little earthiness on the nose on the first sip, and so that makes me feel like maybe that's where that influence is coming in, more on the nose than on the palate, though we're only on sip 2. I like your molasses note. There's something really quite rich about this sip, but also fruit forward, like a little bit tropical. I don't know, like a mango or a pineapple.
Right. It's got to be some sort of tropical fruit that I don't eat often, but
dragon fruit. No, I don't know.
My goodness, it could be dragon fruit. I have to say, this does not drink at 118 proof, although I do get a little numbness on the tongue.
This is the first one I will say that doesn't drink at the proof point. It's got a much lower intensity than the other ones, for sure.
Yeah, it's got kind of an island vibe. Honestly,
it does,
it's a little bit laid back. It is slow down, enjoy the ride, and, you know, again, I think, like they said, a little bit of water, a little bit of ice could be the way to drink this one, but I like this one as is neat. I think it's got unbelievably interesting flavors that, again, we're having trouble coming up with all those flavors. I kind of like that. Give me something to work with, and I can spend all day with it. And this one drinks so nicely, I think I could.
Yeah. I just said yeah, because I like this one. I do.
I took another sip because I wanted more of it. Man, it really coats. It really, really coats. And fourth sip there, it's definitely pineapple.
Is
There's
it?
a
Oh,
lot
good.
of pineapple. I mean, for me. Maybe you won't get that. Let me know. What's the fruit that you're getting on this one if you've tried it?
It's delicious, though. That caramel, it's good caramel, too. Like, we've melted down all that caramel. We're taking our caramel apples. Like, it's a delicious, gooey caramel.
What's the opposite of good caramel?
Trash caramel. So I'm going to be honest.
Go for it.
This is the one. The next one is the one I'm looking forward to the least, because I've had a couple of bourbons finished in, I can never say this word.
Amburana.
Amburana. Oh, Amburana. And it just doesn't do it for me. In the ones that I've had, it's just been so dry, so baking spice forward, so uncooked, apple, cinnamon-ness. I'm nervous.
Totally fair. I mean, the first one that we had was actually Teeling's Irish whiskey.
Yeah.
And that one I loved because it was so novel, so unique. But since then, we have tried
several.
Several. People have sent us a lot of samples. And I have to say that it strikes me that a lot of the time it's overdone. But this is something new for us. It's Barrell's Cask Finish Series Amburana. This is an intense baking spice character. Centered around cinnamon, fills every nook and cranny of the tasting experience. It's a veil through which one experiences the aromas of chocolate, walnut, and toasted sourdough.
Sounds good.
The palate also has a narrative driven by cinnamon and spicy ginger beer with cameos from marmalade, tarragon, and Hefeweizen.
Ooh, I love a Hefeweizen.
Yeah, you're back on board right now. A healthy splash of water foregrounds passion fruit, goldenrod, and honeycomb.
Ooh, yeah.
So, I mean, whoever's writing these
delicious.
things, whoever wrote this one, maybe give them a raise. I wasn't excited. Now I am.
I know it. Oh,
Okay, there's a cat.
cat's excited too. Let's drink some Amburana. Okay, so first initial nose, it smells amazing, but it does smell like everything I just talked about. Like, the nose is so baking spicy. And I took like a half a millisecond waft of this one, and it is cinnamon and clove and ginger. Like, I got that all on just the initial, which makes me a little bit more nervous. But as long as it's not super dry on the palate, I'll be excited.
And I get a lot of fruit up here. I think the marmalade call is a great shout out.
It smells like the gooey filling of a crisp. Like, I always say it's the apple crisp because that's what I'm getting. There, obviously the flavor notes doesn't have apple, but like, it smells like that gooey, deliciously cinnamony, spicy middle.
That's what we always get on Amburana finished stuff is go to Holland, Michigan, go to any bakery, order a slice of apple crisp. and just eat it, and you're tasting this. Well, not this, but in general, Amburana whiskeys. So let's taste this.
I'm ready.
I think that's far more subtle than any of the other Amburanas. Oh, here it comes on the finish.
Ooh, it's warm too.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty subtle compared to the other Amburana finishes that we've had, which I am happy to report.
Yes, and my biggest complaint about the other ones, it felt like I just took a handful of the dry spice and ate them because it was really dry.
Yeah.
This one actually tastes like it's cooked, and it's a little bit gooey, and it's a little bit sticky.
This still tastes like bourbon. So many times we taste Amburana finished whiskeys, and they don't taste like anything but Amburana. This still has bourbon character to it, so I'm very happy about that.
I will say that this is my favorite one that I've had.
That's a big statement.
It is a big statement. This one kind of feels like I just had a really nice dinner and I want dessert, but I don't really want the calories from the dessert. And this kind of checks that box. Like, I could see myself wanting something sweet after a really nice meal and drinking this.
Okay, so let's put an exclamation point on this video. You have to buy one of these.
Yes.
Which one are you purchasing?
I'm buying the Super Good Glass, which is the new Cask Finish series Tale of Two Islands. I just thought it was so delicious.
That one caught me completely off guard,
yes.
How much I enjoyed that, and I really did. I think that is a fantastic... I almost hesitate to say whiskey because it really does come across more like a rum, but it's such a nice sip, and there's so much to find in there. That is an adventurous, bold whiskey that I'm so glad that they've produced. If you had a second place, what would it be?
I think, and this is going to sound crazy, I would get the Amburana. I don't know what it is about this one, but that flavor is so delicious. I think it would be such a nice addition to any delicious meal.
If I was going to pick a second place, it's going to be this rye.
Ah.
I think that it's so interesting, so unique. There's a ton of flavor. I'd love to put an ice cube in there, let those flavors open up a little bit, and see what else I can find in there. I think that the Canadian influence really brings something special. And I say it a lot. When I'm sipping a rye, I like to know I'm sipping on a rye. This one's not going to let you forget that. And I think that that's fantastic. So for Barrell products, let us know if you've tried these. Which one do you like best? If you haven't tried them, if you see them on the shelf, which one are you grabbing? And from wherever we are
to wherever you are,
cheers.
Cheers. This was really fun.
I think I like the rye more now than I did before.